everyone, I'm David.
And I'm Travis.
And we're the Game Detectives.
And this is a Game Detectives editorial. Now, unfortunately, we've reached the end of our rare month. We've looked at a lot of games that we think have aged very well, and some that haven't. The games that we think have aged the best are the Collect-athon games. Now, what exactly is a Collect-athon game, David?
In the early 3D era of video games, a lot of games had you focus on collecting items within one level in order to reach the next level, and so on and so forth until the finale. These kind of games had you focus on collecting everything within the level by exploring each level to the fullest extent, rather than simply going from point A to point B.
The first big success for the Collect-athon genre on the N64 was its inaugural title, Super Mario 64, which featured a wide variety of worlds to explore and only two main collectibles, stars and coins. Players collected stars in each world, which were used to open doors in the castle that led the way to Bowser at the end.
The best kind of platformer is one that utilizes the collectibles in a way that actually provides structure and guidance to the levels, and incorporates the level design in the placement of the collectibles. Banjo-Kazooie, Spyro, Jak and Daxter, Gex, Super Mario 64, all of these games use the formula well by offering the collectibles as incentives to keep going in the game. Rather than drowning the player in items, or not providing collectibles at all, these games use the genre to their advantage.
Banjo-Kazooie and Super Mario 64 use notes and coins respectively to guide the player through the beginning levels of the game so they understand the mechanics well. But these notes and coins served multiple functions. In particular, the coins in Super Mario 64 showcase collectibles at their best. They give you extra lives, stars, and revive your health. This makes the collectibles relevant and forces the player to really seek out the coins as they serve a vital function of keeping you alive. The red and blue versions of coins offer variety to this mechanic as well.
As we all know, Super Mario 64 was a huge success, and began inspiring a lot of other companies to begin crafting their own Collect-athon imitators. Donkey Kong 64, Glover, and many, many more games used the Collect-athon model that Super Mario 64 provided. But by 2000, 6 years after Super Mario 64 came out, the market became oversaturated with the sheer number of Collect-athon games. By the GameCube and PS2 era, the genre fizzled out. But why?
The genre became full of games that fit the model of a platformer but didn't really use the Collect-athon in the best way. As platformers became more popular and more complex, there were just too many items and not enough reasons to actually want to collect them all. Maybe the worst culprit of this was Donkey Kong 64, which made you collect golden bananas, banana coins, banana medals, boss keys, watermelons, headphones, oranges, crystal coconuts, banana camera film, banana fairies, and blueprints, not to mention all the switches, barrels, moves, and 5 different playable characters.
Maybe Donkey Kong 64 could have gotten away with this overuse of items if the worlds were designed in a way that made use of all of them in a particularly memorable or integrative way. Unfortunately, the worlds were so poorly designed that the items just became an extra hindrance for the player. Most of the worlds feature very little in terms of memorable characters, and they all lack a cohesive structure. Each world usually consists of a main area with a bunch of different separated areas and rooms, but these cut the level off, making it less cohesive.
For example, in the Angry Aztec level, there is a temple that has 5 doors, each of which only one character can enter at a time. These doors lead to mini areas that have no unity with the rest of the level. This needlessly separates each character off from the main world, and collectibles contribute to the disunity as well. Many of the coins or bananas in the game take you away from the main area of the level and force you to explore these segmented sections that have no connection with the rest of the world.
While it may seem like the collectibles offer players a lot of different choices in how to approach the game, it actually makes it really stifling. There's just so much to do and so many things to collect that it's hard to find motivation to actually do any of it. The individual collectibles really only serve one purpose each, and it can be extremely frustrating since you can only use certain Kongs to do certain things, and the only way to switch your character is to go to a barrel, making the game really tedious because you have to go back and forth so many times. Again, in the Angry Aztec level, you have to go in each door, but in order to enter each one, you have to go to the Kong barrel, switch characters, finish their challenge, then rinse and repeat 4 times. It just makes it tedious.
But I still really like the game. Some of the minigames are actually a lot of fun, especially the minecart areas. Frantic Factory actually has a really cool level design, and the least segmented of the levels. Plus, the segmented areas here make sense because they're within offices or warehouses, different sections of the factory. Here, the level design is more cohesive. Overall, I still like the game.
I have to disagree. The collectibles were tedious, the levels were poorly designed, especially the Gloomy Galleon, which may be my least favorite world of all time, and it just really felt like there was no reason to actually finish the game. I did 100% it, but I was so bored with it that I'd rather just play Happy Birthday on Donkey Konga for the next 25 centuries than play it again.
On the opposite side of things, some platformers just didn't have enough in terms of collectibles. We already talked about Conker's Bad Fur Day, where the only real collectible is money, and the game as a whole seems to rebel against the idea of it being a collect-athon. It doesn't really offer enough in terms of structure to be an effective platformer either.
Part of the reason behind the lack of collectibles in Conker's Bad Fur Day might stem from the development of the game. It was originally announced as Conker's Quest, and was said to be in the vein of platformers like Banjo-Kazooie. Then it was revealed in 1998 that the game had changed its name to 12 Tales, Conker 64, and would feature some new mechanics such as a 2-player split-screen gameplay with Barry and Conker.
However, the game kept the same cute atmosphere and variety of collectibles as other platformers of the time. But most critical receptions of the game reveal were disappointed with the same cute, kid-oriented structure as Rare's other games, and wanted something different from the company. So they went back to the drawing board and revealed the game as Conker's Bad Fur Day in 2000.
The development team decided to add more adult humor, movie references, and swear words to the game to make it more adult-oriented. They also got rid of all the special moves in the game and decided to use the context-sensitive buttons instead, and they also got rid of most of the collectibles.
But in their quest to go against the conventions of the platformer, the game didn't really have any reason to be a platformer in the end. Platformers rely on exploration and collectibles to progress through the game, and Conker's lack of collectibles just gives you a lack of motivation. There's no real incentive to go through the levels, especially if the humor doesn't really appeal to you.
By the late 1990s, we can already see a shift from the genre. There haven't been a whole lot of AAA 3D platformers released in the past 10 years, except maybe the Super Mario Galaxy games.
But that brings up a good point. Most of the platformers that really stood out in the N64 era began developing new games and adding new gimmicks in order to make the games fresh. With Mario, we got Mario Sunshine with Flood, and Super Mario Galaxy, which is Mario in space.
I wouldn't say those are necessarily gimmicks. I love the Super Mario Galaxy games because the mechanics are so effective, the worlds are really inventive, not to mention the tight controls and the fantastic music.
But even if you like these games, you have to admit that these new inventions of the game took a platformer away from what it was originally intended to be. These new Mario games focused less on collectibles, especially with the coins. I feel like these games were made to try and make the formula fresh or new, but strayed away too much from what made it great.
Another reason that the platformer failed is because, as gamers grew up, we gravitated to more mature games. Grand Theft Auto, Call of Duty, Halo, and so forth became popular because they focused on adult themes and topics and featured a lot of shooting. Gamers maybe actually didn't want to play these quote-unquote kid games anymore.
And there really hasn't been a development of a lot of console mascots anymore. A lot of these platformers centered around dynamic, cute characters that were made to build franchises. Even now, with cartoon characters such as Rayman becoming more popular, he still hasn't reached the same level of notoriety as Mario or Link.
But if we're really gonna fault anyone for ruining the platformer, it might have to be Rare and Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts. Maybe the game didn't officially ruin the platformer, but it set the standard for how not to make a new one.
Yeah, what really frustrated me with that game was that they deliberately paint platformers as games that fail, even though Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie did extremely well. Even though it's tongue-in-cheek, it still seems that the Rare team rarely believes that anyone wants to do is shoot things anymore, which I don't agree with.
After all, with gaming companies making tons of money off of different genres of games, it can be hard to justify a return to the 3D platformer. But with success in crowdfunding games such as Yooka-laylee, A Hat in Time, and Psychonauts, it might show that some people are coming around to the idea of bringing the 3D platformer back. Hopefully these games make it through production and back onto our consoles. So, that concludes the Game Detectives case study on the Collect-athon. Did you play these games growing up? How do you like them? Let us know in the comments.